Yo, this is Emmer Effer on Dazzling Radio. Go fuck yourself.
Greetings, comrades. Welcome to episode 26 of Dying Scene Radio. With me, as always, is my compadre from another madre, Mr. Bobby Burns. Salutate the listeners, Bobbert.
Hello, everybody. I almost wanted to say howdy, but I didn't. I was like, is he going to say it? I feel like you haven't said it in a while.
Yeah, try and mix it up a little bit, keep you on your toes.
Yeah.
But not only do you have boring old Bobbert and myself, also joining us this episode is one half of the loudest, gayest punk band in the world. It's Adrienne from Plasma Canvas. Hey, Adrienne.
Hello, everyone, everywhere.
So we're going to get to know her a little bit more throughout the episode as we listen to some fantastic new music from emerging bands that you were probably too lazy to discover, and discuss some of the more noteworthy scene news from the last few weeks that you were probably too lazy to read. So first, a little bit of house cleaning. Our opening song for this episode was brought to us by Skate Punk's Symphony of Distraction. They say they're from New York and California, so bi-coastal. That's got to be interesting for practice. The name of the track was Time Is Not On My Side, which is a cover of a Lonely Bunker song from their 2019 album, Daytime Lullaby. The track was released on a 2-track split album, Bob's favorite, but it was just that one song and each of them performing it. So it was pretty cool to hear the two different takes on it. And I think Symphony of Distraction is an incredibly underrated band. Their last full-length Horse was amazing and still logs pretty significant amount of time on my playlist. Have you, Adrienne, have you ever heard of Symphony of Distraction? You're pretty in tune with the scene, I'd imagine you have.
No, I have hit the age in my life where I stop consuming new things and I continuously consume things that make me feel nostalgic for 2005.
No! How old are you?
I just turned 30.
You just turned 30, okay.
Yeah.
So, wait, in 2005 then, you would have been 15? Okay, 15. There you go, because I think that's when I turned 20. Okay, yes.
Yeah, that doesn't get any better, by the way. I looked at my Spotify rap list this year, and it was all stuff that I shouldn't be listening to because I should be listening to more new bands and stuff like that. But it was a lot of Propaganda and None More Black, and I was very bad this year. Very bad.
There is a loophole, though. It's also like a prerequisite for like turning 30. Is you can listen to a new band that feels like an old band because, you know, and that band is called the Menzingers. And that's very true. Because they feel like, you know, I listened to like Lookers, I think it was called, for the first time, you know, like last year, and I was like, okay, I feel like I've heard this song a million times. That is a great feeling. Also, like, what the fuck?
I love the Menzingers. I think they had another new album this year, didn't they? They've been putting out new music left and right.
I feel like you're at least like mentally 30 years old when you start falling in love with the Menzingers.
Yeah, well, I think on your 30th birthday, you actually have to listen to Menzingers. It's a prerequisite.
It's funny. I think I brought this up earlier this year, but Menzingers are this band where I'm like, yeah, I don't really like them or listen to them, and then I'll have on like an album. The album will finish, and then on Spotify it starts playing like the radio of the band, and every once in a while I'll look down and save a song or this and that, and it's like always Menzingers, so I think I don't enjoy them, but when no one tells me it's the Menzingers, I enjoy them. So yes, apparently I like the Menzingers, and I need to find an album that I can get into and love. So what was the album that you just mentioned?
The Menzingers, the album that I really like is called After the Party.
After the Party, okay. I will take that as my recommendation.
What you said about like not having people tell you that it's the Menzingers and you like it, and then whenever they tell you don't like it anymore, like that's how I feel like whenever I'm like cleverly introducing people to My Chemical Romance. It's like especially like the punks that are like too cool.
Yes.
For you know, I play them like the super raunchy, grungy punk songs like Tomorrow's Money and Boy Division and stuff.
Yeah.
and I play them the like lesser known stuff, and they're like, "Oh man, this is fucking sick. Who is this?" And I'm like, "It's the same band that made Welcome to the Black Parade. You need to be more open-minded."
Gotcha.
Isn't that fun? I think I'm that person too. So you and I are on the same page. Did you?
Yeah, I'm a shit.
Are you down for Umbrella Academy? Have you been into that and watching that?
I feel, so, all right, I have a My Chemical Romance tattoo, but I feel like a bad fan because I have not watched the Umbrella Academy.
Oh, man, yes, you are. I'm not even a My Chemical Romance fan, but I love when, like, singers or bands do other things, like write books. So, like, I'm not, like, a huge Red Hot Chili Peppers fan, but, like, Flea wrote a book, and so did Anthony Kiedis, and, like, they're part of the scene. Flea was in Fear, so I like... eat that shit up just because I think they're interesting as people venturing outside of their comfort zone. And like, I must say, like the Umbrella Academy, the comic books won awards like way back when they came out. And yeah, the TV show of it was just as awesome. So my recommendation to you is at least, well, it's a slow burn, but watch some of it. Try an episode out.
That's Bob's recommendation of the episode. So, see, I got to also try and rein Bob in. So Bob gets a little overexcited sometimes when we have guests on, and we carve out enough time to kind of get to know our guests throughout the episode. But sometimes Bob gets a little eager, and he tries to conduct the interview right at the top of the show, which is never good when you're trying to maintain congruity with shows like this. So we're going to get to know Adrienne a little bit throughout the show, but a little bit now too, so that we can appease both of us, because I don't want Bob to feel like he's totally left out. So Adrienne, I know you're up in the Fort Collins area in Colorado. What have you been doing to get through the pandemic this shitty year? I know I saw you guys, one of the last shows I shot was, I think it was at Summit when you guys opened for Against Me. What have you done since then?
Well, we're writing a new record, but like over the last like month or two, we haven't been rehearsing because of the uptick in cases, and like we're just being extra careful. Part of the reason the live stream show that we did with Less Than Jake and Days the other day, we were a little bit rusty, and that's because we've been super careful and we haven't rehearsed at all. So like what you see, if anybody, listening to this checks out the live stream that we did with Less Than Jake and Days, like what you're seeing is like a band that hasn't rehearsed in like over a month and like, is trying desperately to like rock very hard while also being responsible and like not gathering with people, not like rehearsing in a small tiny room with no ventilation. And
yeah. That's funny. I always thought, at least if nothing else in our scene, it's not going to matter that much because everybody kind of sucks anyway. And I forgot you guys are actually pretty good musicians, so you probably practice your craft a little bit more than most of the other bands that I listen to.
Yeah, well, I fell in love with like heavy metal and like super complicated like hardcore math punk shit before I ever like got into like Against Me or Gaslight Anthem or Menzingers or like Jeff Rosenstock, any like song-based music. It was more about like whenever I was learning how to play guitar and write music, it was always about like showing everyone that I was really good. So like I discovered punk rock later on, and I kind of took the chops that I learned from being a metal musician to like and applied the attitude of like, I can do whatever the fuck I want and no one gets to tell me that I'm wrong for expressing myself. Yeah. And so like, I think that's where we differ from a lot of punk bands because like, I'm not saying like we're better or cooler or anything like that. It's just like, I'm not bound by like, I have to do this thing and this is what punk is and this is what it isn't. And like, I feel like me doing whatever the hell I want and not answering to people with mohawks and studs all over their jacket, like, is punk rock.
That's it. Exactly.
I definitely think it shows in your guys' music. And are you just a two-piece?
Yeah. So Jude and I write everything, but sometimes we'll have like a friend come up and play guitar or something, and we do like to collaborate with people, and the next record that we're writing is going to be like written by me and Jude, but when we tour on it, we're going to tour as like maybe like a 4 or 5 piece.
Oh, nice.
That's
just
cool.
and like that way we get to like still express ourselves fully, and like the people that we bring in will, you know, just be happy to contribute and like won't want to put their stamp on it.
Yeah. How do
And
you
we have
How have you filled in? So I didn't watch the live stream that you guys did with Les and Jake. You know, I haven't been out there to the shows that like AP was mentioning and stuff. How do you fill in live, like with your guitar tone? Are you doing? Because I've seen 2-piece bands before, where a guitar player will also play out of a bass amp and maybe have like a second line with an EQ that takes off all the high end to get like a nice bass tone to it. Or I've seen the exact opposite, where it's just like bass, mid, treble, all the way up, like just trying to give a full feel of the instrument through one amplifier. So do you have an approach that you take to this?
Yeah, well, the band accidentally became a 2-piece.
Okay.
And well, what happened was like, so I'm from a small town in Missouri, and I was the only trans person that I knew there, pretty much. So like, I had a lot of experiences and wrote a lot of songs. And whenever I moved to Colorado, I had like 13 songs, and I was like, I want to record a record. And so I found this guy named Dave Seitz, and he helped me record the first record. And we just ended up becoming a band because we liked playing together. But like, I recorded so many parts for our very first full-length record. You know, like you'll hear there's bass on there, there's like organ, there's piano, there's tambourine, and you know, just a bunch of shit. But it was never supposed to specifically be a 2-piece band. It was just like, you know, I'm a really shy and socially awkward person, and so I'm not good at making friends. And so I was just like, I'm going to figure out how to do this live. And so what ended up happening was we recorded the record with Dave, and I decided that when we played live, I was going to play out of 2 amps.
Okay.
Which is what I do. And the way that I do it is I plug my guitar into an ABY switch.
Yep.
And in one side I got a just a distortion pedal that's fully cranked, and then that goes into a noise gate, which goes into a cranked Vox AC30, and then on the bass side it goes into an MXR fuzz machine, which is like an octave fuzz pedal, but I only use like a tiny little bit of the octave just to like keep it like from getting muddy. But I use a lot of the fuzz, and then that goes into an EQ pedal with the lows cranked up real high and the highs rolled off. And then that goes into a noise gate, and then that goes into a bass amp with the bass cranked, the mids cranked, and the treble like on, you know, like up a quarter of the way. And yeah, and so that's how I get my sound.
That's cool. And when you do that, so I don't think I've ever like plugged a guitar into a bass amp and tried to mess with that. Do you feel like you get like a nice sweet bass tone out of it that you're really happy with, or you're like, this is just gonna have to do?
Sometimes it's a little bit of both. But it all honestly depends on who's mixing who's like running sound.
Yeah, that's super important.
Yeah, I've had sound guys like try to wrap their heads around my rig before and totally fail, and like, you know, the guitar amp is super loud and like there's no bass amp going into the monitors at all. It's just, but you know, it is really great because like I'll sound check the guitar amp and it'll sound super awesome, and I'm like, wow, how can a guitar sound any better than this? And then I click on the bass and it just sounds like a giant fuzzy mountain.
So it's just like nothing but mud.
Yeah, and it's cool because I can kind of do like a sort of stoner metal thing with it, but you know, I always interpreted stoner metal to mean like metal that like was quirky and weird, like Mastodon or like Dillinger, you know, but stoner metal apparently means really slow and played on the neck pickup through a bass amp, like, and I find that a little bit boring. So I don't do that.
Interesting.
I'm getting way out in the weeds, guys. I'm sorry.
Well, that's what happens when Bob leads the conversation. It's not you, it's him, 100%. So don't
I'm interested in all this stuff, right? I started out playing bass 20 years ago and then switched to drums and picked up guitar and keyboards and everything else in between. And so like, you know, you got to know your craft and what you're doing. And I mean, part of it for me is I didn't learn how to like EQ my guitar or my bass, even when I was playing shows and shit, until I started recording in my late 20s. And so, you know, then you start picking up and listening to it. And so I don't know, I'm just curious because I've never done that before. And then in addition, like, does that mean... So because you have an ear for this stuff, do you have a big part in like your album tone and mixing process? It's like, do you come in when you guys record an album and like, I don't know, do you just have a lot to say? Because so when I recorded albums when I was younger, I was like, I don't know, I guess that sounds fucking good to me. Like, turn the bass up. Whereas like, I didn't know how to cut EQs. I didn't know it was mudding up mixes. And if like mids were too high or lows weren't high enough, I didn't know how to hear all that. Or like you talked about having gates and compressors, like I didn't know any of that stuff. So do you feel like because you know this stuff well, do you have a big part in that process, or do you just kind of let the magic happen with whoever's recording and mixing you guys?
It's a little bit of both, because I like to know what I'm doing, and I like to know the words to use to describe what I want to sound like. And I like to have some control over that, and I like to be able to get that sound on my own through the speakers to begin with. So that way, like, you know, whenever they want to mic up my rig, you know, they can take what I'm giving them, and, you know, that's like a really good bass line. But I also really do, you know, so when we worked on our album Killer Majestic with Bill Stevenson and Andrew Berlin, you know, Bill was really good for like throwing in ideas, and like he was really good for like guiding the perfect performance out of us. And then Andrew was really great about figuring out which tones to like sit where, and like, because whenever we recorded that, I played out of like 4 amps at once, and that was the most powerful I've ever felt. It was, so we recorded through like an Ampeg bass fridge, my Vox AC30, a Marshall JCM 900, and a Mesa Boogie triple rectifier, all at the same time.
In the same room, or different rooms with different mics on them, or like, how'd you guys pull that off?
Mostly in different rooms. They were in... The bass was in an ISO room, so was the Vox, but the Marshall and the Mesa were in the same room but pointed opposite directions. And so that's how they were able to do that.
That's cool. I wish I had like the amount of space to experience. This is the room I'm confined to for recording. So with my computer right where I am now in front of me, so I have to like tear stuff down and put new stuff up. There's just not enough space to try. But that sounds really fun. I always remember reading about like the Pumpkins recording Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness. I know we're really branching away from punk rock, but something like James Dio used like 30 amps on one of the songs or something like that. And I was just like, I don't even know how I think like, I should also add this one into the mix. By the time I've got 2 on there, I'm like, I don't know. It sounds strong, so I like that.
Well, what's really fun about stuff like that is I don't know if you ever done any reamping.
I don't even know what that means.
Reamping is this really cool thing where they like take a dry performance from your guitar. They just take a DI, put it straight into a computer, and then they run. They can take that performance and run it through as many different amps as they want, and they can set them all to different settings, and it'll track exactly the same performance, and you can just mix it in to give it a little bit more texture to make your record sound huge and pan it all super big. That was fun too.
That sounds fun. I think I've heard someone tell me to do that, the dry track, but I've never done it. I've always been too lazy. I'm like, I don't know if I have the equipment to switch this off. I mean, it sounds like a cheap investment. I should do that. So, in order to keep this going and have AP not hit me, I'm going to see him, and he's probably going to sock me in the arm. I'll limit it to one more question for right now. You mentioned being like really heavily into metal and then discovering punk. About what age did you discover punk? What were some of the metal bands that you were into? And then what were some of the punk bands that really...
Fucking 3. That's 3 fucking questions.
God damn it.
I'll keep it short.
I don't care. I'm just fucking with you.
He is right, though. That's 3 fucking questions.
I'm just going to ask one question, but here's 3.
You're giving me shit?
No. You know what it is? And, like, as an autistic person, I can tell you, like, so much about this is it's one very long hyphenated sentence with multiple parentheses and commas.
Fair enough. We'll count it.
All right. So, like, I grew up. So my mom showed me the video for "One" by Metallica when I was like 10 years old, and I was like, "This is the coolest shit I've ever seen," and I want to do that. So like I was a Hesher kid. Like I was like into thrash metal and like that stuff. And I got into some of the more like nerdy stuff. Like I was really into like Children of Bodom and Trivium for a long time. And I still, like, I'll go back and listen to that stuff.
I'll listen to Trivium every once in a while. I mean, they're just amazing musicians. You can't not appreciate it.
I liked them and Children of Bodom because Children of Bodom was, like, a party band, too. Like, they wrote metal songs that had, like, punk subject matter. Like, I got trashed in the alley and I, like, threw up blood. And I was like, yeah, I'm 16 and I just threw up off a balcony, too. But I think Children of Bodom was actually like a gateway band into punk. Just because of the attitude that Alexi had. He was just like, I don't give a fuck. And I was like, yeah, that's cool. And, I noticed that, like, whenever I would listen to music, I liked the music that was really well put together, like the metal stuff. But whenever I went to shows, I loved the energy of, like, the punk and hardcore bands because, like, the metal bands... Like the one I was in at the time when I was like 16, it was just like a couple of people standing there staring at their fretboards thinking that we were like way cooler and more impressive than we were. Yeah. Like no, but like the punk bands and the hardcore bands, even if it was like, At the Gates core, drop C, like in C minor, like even if it was like all that stuff that sounded just like As I Lay Dying, it was still fun because it was way energetic. And I was like, okay, well, how do I take these skills that I learned from this and like have the energy of this? And that was around like 18 or 19 I started getting more into like punk rock. And I still am a metalhead at heart, but like I try not to just like limit myself to anything. I like to just take in whatever is in front of me and dig for the honesty in it. Yeah. Like if it's got something to say, I'm trying to listen. That's it.
And it's hard too because like you put those gates on, and I think they come with like language becomes really constricting because you associate things like with other people or places or stuff people do. And I remember just like in high school there was this guy who like he was nice enough, but he was obsessed with Ozzy Osbourne, and that's all he talked about. And he played guitar and he only played Ozzy riffs, and like he'd be like, oh, let's jam, and then you'd be like, all right, and he'd like, this Ozzy song, that Ozzy song. It's like, all right, come on, you got to do something else. So I grew up like never listening to Ozzy Osbourne, not knowing anything what he's about, just being annoyed by this guy. And then I must be like 25 or something, and we're skating, and one of my buddies puts on Black Sabbath, and I'm like, dude, who is this? This is awesome. He's like, this is Black Sabbath, man. I'm like, what? Like this sounds just like punk rock that I listen to. And he's like, this is like thrash metal, but okay. I'm like, I don't know. In my head, like it's very like upbeat and fun. Like, I don't know. And so, we do get constricted with that, and it's really hard not to. So, kudos to you for, breaking down those barriers. And like you said, I mean, I like how you, described yourself. Like you kind of want to go beyond that with your music. And I definitely think, when I checked you guys out, I was like, oh man, this is like a really hard, cool, interesting band that isn't like sticking to some simple formula of writing a song or getting a specific sound down. And I think that's what right off the bat I noticed about your music. So it definitely shows, and I appreciate that.
Hey, thanks for saying that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I will end it there for right now.
Are you quite done now? That was very good, Bob. You did a good job of reining it in and keeping yourself accountable to a certain time limit, even if your question count was a little bit wrong. I have one question. So what is that hat? Some kind of nightmare?
Yeah.
Who is that? A band?
Yeah. So Some Kind of Nightmare is a band out of San Diego, and they, I think it was like 2013 or something like that. They decided to quit their jobs and tour in a van full time, and that's what they've been doing for years. And Molly, so basically, like the guitarist and the bassist are both they both do vocals, and they're married to each other, and they're just like really wholesome punk rock, awesome, amazing couple. But Molly is a breast cancer survivor, and like, you know, toured with like a tube draining out of her chest and shit.
Wow.
Like, Molly is the most badass person that I've ever met in my life, and if I ever grow up, I want to be like Molly Mess from Some Kind of Nightmare. So yeah,
that's pretty fucking cool. Yeah,
they're really rad.
Sweet. Yeah, I wish I had known. I could have put some music on here. Bob will put some of their music on while we're talking about that whole story. So
right underneath this.
Yeah, if I can make a song recommendation, the song FDA Approved.
Okay.
It's got a really cool music video too.
Awesome.
Okay. Cool. Then that's what you're listening to in the background while we talked about them. Anyway, I guess that wasn't a real question. I just noticed the hat, and I always like to ask when I see, especially if it looks like a band. So let's go ahead and kick off our first block of music here. We're going to start things, as we always do, with Boss Man Dave's solid gold lock of the episode. From Melbourne, Australia, these punk rockers have a brand new 5-track EP called This Is What Honesty Sounds Like, released via our buddy Rob over at Wiretap Records. This is Catholic Guilt with A Boutique Affair. Name of the song was A Boutique Affair. Boutique? I guess it's boutique. I don't know. I don't go to them. Name of the band was Catholic Guilt, which is a fucking incredible band name. They were from Australia. That was from the brand new 5-track EP. This Is What Honesty Sounds Like. Fucking Rob, man. He can find some good bands.
Fucking
and I like that.
Rob or Dave?
No, Rob, because they're signed to Wiretap.
Oh, yes. I'm like, I know Catholic Guilt from somewhere. Where do I know them from? And it's got to be from Rob's page.
Yep, you probably saw it on the Wiretap page.
Yeah.
And I like that song because I can confirm 100% that the 40s blow. Everything you guys can do to steer clear of hitting your 40s outside of... ending it all, I definitely recommend avoiding the 40s.
The only way out.
Yeah, I guess it is. I guess the 40s beats the alternative. I guess I'm on the right side of the grass. But I wake up sore every day, especially with these cold days, man. Denver's cold.
Yeah, it's been miserable out there for you, but my tomatoes are just blooming here again in sunny California because it's about 68 degrees out right now. I will just continue to rub it in until you move back. So
yeah, hey, cool. So about fucking off.
Yeah, I think the high today here was like 25 or something like that. It's been absolutely miserable. But good. I'm glad. And you're what, like about 20 minutes from the beach?
Yeah,
30
something
minutes
like
from the
that.
beach?
Something like that.
Yeah, fabulous. Well, thank you very much for that, for reminding me. So anyway, Catholic Guilt, good pick, Boss Man Dave. I really enjoyed the little guitar breakdown near the end. I thought that was pretty clever, and they just kind of snuck it in. I like those where you notice that they put a maximum amount of effort into something that, a lot of people probably aren't even going to recognize. I always like to take a second and recognize the brilliance of that. So good job, guys. Okay, let's move things along here. I know Bob's probably ready with some more questions, so I'm going to try and get another song in before he slows down the progress of the episode. We're going to move on to our number one fan, Spike's pick of the episode. Adrienne, Spike's are pretty much our only fan. I don't think we have a lot. I call him our number one fan. I should probably just call him our only fan.
You say that, but we're approaching 1,000 downloads an episode.
Oh, I don't know. I don't look at numbers. I don't have time for that shit.
But don't downplay us that much. Otherwise, people are like, "Am I the only one?" Like, no, there are others out there.
So he's the only fan. I hear a lot about this only fan.
He is not the only fan, but
he has an OnlyFans.
I pay $5 a month for his OnlyFans.
He's our best number one fan from up north in Canada, and he sends us pics because he knows how lazy we are. So he sends us emails all the time with his pics of the episode. So this one there wasn't a lot of information on. I couldn't find a Facebook page on these guys, so my facts are lacking. So I'm just going to read what Spike said in his email about this. So the name of the band is Street Justice. The name of the EP, well, it's a self-titled EP. So Spike said, this blistering self-titled EP is full of pure straight-edge vegan rage, which that pretty much just sealed the deal for me on playing this shit. This album always gets me pumped and is the reason why I drive like a maniac. So first I want to say, Spike, don't drive like a maniac. It's probably icy and snowy where you are, so we need you to keep sending us songs so that we can continue to be lazy. So take care of yourself, slow down, observe all the pertinent traffic laws. While we do that, I'm going to play this song, Spike, but I need you to control yourself, okay? This is Street Justice. The name of the track is Cut X Off.
You
The track was Cut X Off. The name of the band was Street Justice out of the hard streets of Toronto, Ontario. Nothing like a little hardcore from the hard streets of Toronto, right? And Bob just confirmed that they don't have a Facebook. He wanted to reiterate that point, just so everybody knew that he was unable to find a Facebook page as well.
I wasn't saying that to everybody. I was saying that to you, AP. And I was, I don't know. Just saying I found the
It's okay. You can say I'm right.
All right.
I know it hurts.
You're right.
You see what I have to do, Adrienne?
I was saying
to get
you're
the recognition
right.
I deserve.
I was only saying you're right to me saying that I can say I'm right sometimes. I wasn't saying you're right about this particular instance.
All right.
But you're right. I
got
can
it.
say you're right.
Okay, so we just played a hardcore song. Adrienne, I know that, I don't know, what do you guys classify plasma canvas as? I know classifications are so outdated, but in our business here, we do have to sometimes put labels on music when we're describing them to our listeners. So what do you guys describe plasma canvas as? It's got flavors of hardcore in it.
I mean, yeah, but, it's also got flavors of, like, Leonard Skinner and ZZ Top. I don't know. Oh God, I'm gonna be this person saying we're just a band. We just play what comes naturally. But it's honestly like Jude and I both really love like post-hardcore too, and stuff. And that coupled with the fact that we're both like trashy Midwest kids who like grew up eating fucking Frito pie and corn dogs and shit. Like, we have like a soft spot for like Van Halen, and like. We like a lot of different kinds of stuff, but we like to keep it energetic and loud, whatever it is.
Yeah, and I can confirm you guys are definitely loud.
What are some of the post-hardcore bands that you're into?
Under Oath,
okay,
and Under Oath, La Dispute, Touche Amore.
La Dispute. I saw them live like I don't know how long ago. This must have been 10 years ago now at this place called like Rock Candy Records or something in Ventura, and they played with All Get Out and I don't remember what other bands. All Get Out's like a pop punk band, and man, never have I seen a smaller guy with like a stronger voice. He was like the tiniest person I've ever seen on stage, just like screaming, his like poetic. Like that's the interesting thing about La Dispute is that they're like such a I don't know. I mean, they've even done poetry like over their music as opposed to actually singing them. So very fun stuff. And then Under Oath, I've got a really fun story. I was never that into Under Oath, but I saw them at this venue in Los Angeles with Coheed and Cambria. And Coheed at the time was just like releasing comic books. And I was trying to get one, and they ran out. And one of the guys was like, okay, like come back, meet me by the back gate, and I'll try and find you one. I'm trying to remember the guy's name, but he was their merch guy. And so then I went back there, and up comes Chris from Under Oath, who I don't even know if Chris is still in the band anymore, but he was their keyboard player at the time. And I think he started the band. He's like, hey, what's going on, guys? And we're like, nothing, just waiting for this, blah, blah. And this guy hung out with us for 3 hours, just me and one of my friends, and we just sat there waiting. And he was the nicest person who I have ever just sat with in a band, like. And he wasn't like, oh, I got to go in, like, party with my friends or this or that. He sat with 2 kids in a back alley, and he's like, oh, they have comic books? I didn't know that. Yeah, let me see if I could go get one. And then he, like, comes back. We thought he was just going to ditch us. He left I'm a young, like, nerdy kid at the time, right? And so I'm like, man, I'm meeting like a movie star right now. Like, this is a rock star. I'm like, will you be my voicemail on my phone? And he's like, what do you want me to say? I'm like, I don't know. Just be like, this is Chris from Under Oath. Leave a message. And he's like, what's up? This is Chris from Under Oath. You've reached Bob's phone. Leave a message or die. And that was on my voicemail for like 2 years. Anyways. Fun.
That's so cool.
Fun, and then I loved them after that. After that, I was like, check out Under Oath.
Cool story, Bob. We're not interviewing you on this episode.
That was awesome, though. I'm so happy to know that. That's amazing.
I mean, it was a highlight of my younger adulthood. I thought it was fun for a while.
It's good to know when people in the scene are good. So I like this.
The guy was a sweetheart.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll play another song, and we'll see what else we have to talk about after that. So we played a couple songs from other countries. Let's bring things back here to the good old US of A. Good old US of A. This is Melodic Punk Quintet from Asheville, North Carolina, Cardboard Box Colony. Name of the song is Pathetic. That was Cardboard Box Colony from Asheville, North Carolina with Pathetic. That was from the 4-track self-titled EP released a little bit earlier this year. I noticed that the record label that they listed that song was released under was Stimulus Package Records. So I'm thinking that they might have released that one themselves sometime around spring when those massive $1,200 checks came out.
They're like,
everybody's still living off their $1,200, right? Everybody's still got plenty of that left.
I didn't even get it.
Oh, no way.
What?
I did not even get it, dude.
That's crazy.
Buck. You pay taxes, right? You're supposed to get it.
Yeah, I mean, like, I didn't fucking get it. Well,
Jesus.
Okay, so, let's get real for a second. I have some issues where, like, I had a bank account a couple years ago, and, like, I had, like, some auto-deducting bill, and it, like, overdrafted me, and then so they charged me, like, $150 and closed my account. And I haven't had an extra $150 in the meantime because, like, I'm a broke trans woman, doing delivery driving jobs. So, like, and now, like, it's been too long. They won't let me pay it, so I can't have a bank account anywhere. So I have to pay with everything and pay for everything in cash.
That's
so
insane.
yeah, I didn't get it.
So you're like, I can't pay you the $150 because you won't let me have $1,200.
Like $1,200. There you go. Now there's
like,
a good
if you could just
reason
let
for
me
it.
have it, I could give it to you. I promise.
Yeah,
That's
a bitch,
crazy.
isn't it? Yeah. If only I had that $1,200.
So you do delivery right now?
Yeah, I work for a company called Noko Nosh.
What is it, like food delivery, package delivery?
It's food delivery.
Okay, and has that been like pretty nice during like this whole pandemic COVID situation, like because you can easily stay socially distant, or is it not easy to stay distant at this time with the delivery stuff?
I mean, like any job, there are pros and cons. I love that my office is my car.
Yeah.
And, like, I just get to drive around and listen to podcasts and music all day. I listened to y'all's podcast while I was delivering food literally yesterday.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah. But... yeah, I like that. What I don't like is when people tip me like $2 to drive across town in a fucking thunderstorm and and it's always like the same neighborhoods that order from the same places, like all the cops order from like, the nastier places. And like, all the bootlickers like order from the same restaurants and stuff. So I know like usually whenever I go to certain places, like it's, the tip's not going to be very much. And like whenever I'm delivering to certain neighborhoods, I'm like, okay, they're going to, I was like, okay, $3 tip, $50 order.
Wow.
Yeah, that, and like 9 times out of 10, I show up and there's like a thin blue line flag out front, and I'm just like, yep, okay, fucking bootlickers, they tip like shit.
That's awful. Well, we're laughing, but like, it's your life and your money and your rent and all that stuff. So, I mean, that's awful that happens. But what other podcasts do you do?
So like listening to them or what?
Do you have one that you actually do as well?
Well, it's funny that you should ask about that, because like the purpose of downloading Anchor was like I want to get started doing a podcast, and the idea is a little bit about me is I recently, a few months ago, found out that I'm autistic, and that's explained a lot to me and like helped me figure out a lot about myself, including like why I have a lot of obsessive, like specific special interests, and and what I would like to do is I would like to interview other musicians about their favorite band ever, and like we're just gonna deep dive into everything about them, because like if somebody were to bring me onto a podcast and say, all right, Adrienne, let's talk about Jimmy Eat World, like I would talk for fucking ever.
I mean, that's what we should do here as well, but I like the idea of that. Like, I mean, you're here. If we want to talk about Jimmy Eat World, let's talk about Jimmy Eat World, right?
Well, the extra idea I had was like, basically the subject would be like, we're going to talk about this band with this person. And like in the episode, it would be like, okay, this person that I'm interviewing is also in a band and they're called this. And so if you're searching for, this band, like if you're searching for Alice in Chains, you might find like a band that has like those influences. And so, I just kind of, I think that idea is kind of fun and
cool.
And
I do too.
Yeah. So that was my idea for a podcast. Is just like nerding out with other musicians about our favorite musicians.
Not that you'd ever want to have me on, but if you ever want to talk about Operation Ivy or Saves the Day, I would love to come on, because those are my two bands that I can nerd out and talk about for an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours and probably not get bored and learn new things, or vice versa. Like if you've got bands, like I said, Jimmy Eat World, I like Jimmy Eat World, but I don't know enough about them other than I could be educated from you. So I wouldn't need to go on. I could just listen to your podcast. Do you have a name? Do you have a name for it yet that you like tentatively want to go by, or no?
Yes and no. I mean, like I had a couple of names, but like I don't know. I haven't settled on one yet, and so I don't want to like throw one out and tell people to go look up a podcast that doesn't exist.
At the very least, when you do get it together and come out with one, shoot it to us, and then we'll share it on our Instagram.
Totally.
Because, I mean, that's definitely something I'm sure our listeners would be interested in. And also, like, I mean, if you're listening to this and you have a band and, like, hey, this might be a really good, like I said, we've got, like, close to 1,000 listeners. This will be a really good segue. Like, do you have a Twitter handle or an Instagram that you want to drop where if, like, someone in a band's listening to this and like, oh, dude, I'd love to talk about Jimmy Eat World or this or that. Like, do you have a handle you can drop so people could reach you if they wanted to?
Right now, just follow Plasma Canvas, just at Plasma Canvas on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, hopefully TikTok soon. That's where everybody is. I need to make a TikTok and jump on there.
You're going to dance to some WAP videos?
I will tell you. I will straight up tell you. And this is like, I'm being 100% right now. Like wherever the young people are, that's where you got to go if you're trying to stay relevant. If you're trying to like, meet people and connect and shit and like do what other people are doing, it really helps to be on those platforms. Cause like I've been very hesitant about a lot of things, and I've just sort of started to embrace like doing things that make me uncomfortable, because like that's the only way we're ever gonna like grow as a band is if we like keep trying new stuff and seeing what works, and keep an open mind and let ideas come in. So
there's a new one we might all try. I think it's called Parlor. We should go on there.
We got what's your Parlor handle? Plasma Canvas at Parlor.
Oh God! If you're listening to this, please do not make us a Parlor account.
Too funny.
Oh God.
That's awesome.
Gotta be a shit show these days.
Hey, you're gonna kill me, AP. But so you've got one you're doing. But quick, give me 3 podcasts you do listen to.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm like, I thought you were talking to AP for a second.
No, I'm going 90. I'm just saying he's gonna kill me for asking you more questions in the middle of the songs.
Okay, so I listen to like 6 different news podcasts every single day because I'm a news nerd.
Yeah, no, that's all right. That's awesome. Which ones?
I try to listen to a few different ones to get a little bit of a different view, but
that's awesome.
I listen to Today Explained, Start Here, Up First, a lot of NPR.
NPR is great. I do NPR, Hidden Brain, Invisibilia, Code Switch, Louder Than
love
Riot.
Code Switch.
Code Switch is great, man. It's a good perspective for me too, right? Because I'm just a white guy in a white guy's world in California, and so I get like a nice point of view with that one.
Yeah, Code Switch has been really helpful in my don't make my white guilt black people's problem department.
Right?
Like I listened to like one episode where the dude was like, "Don't talk to me about race unless you're gonna pay me," and I was like, "All right, it's my I got to use my time to like figure that shit out, and I'm not gonna like keep it, I'm not gonna make it somebody else's problem."
Yeah, no, you're totally right. So cool, awesome. We're on the same page with that stuff. That's good.
Okay, are we back to music now, Bob?
Yeah, sorry.
Done with your questions for this segment? There'll be more opportunity. Don't you worry, little birdie.
I know.
Okay, let's kick things across the pond for this next one. I'm feeling a little bit of ska. Ska always gets me in a good mood, so I am ready for that. The name of this track is Good Luck. The name of the song, Last Edition.
From holding your breath,
ska quartet is from Leicester, UK. I don't know.
Me
I
neither.
don't know anything about the UK. But my buddy Cody in the Hempsteadies is going to love them because we always say there needs to be more sax and punk rock in general, not just ska, but more sax and punk all around.
Yeah.
You tend to find it a little bit more in ska, but
Well, I was going to say, can you have sax in punk without it becoming ska?
yeah, sure, why not?
I don't know.
Right?
You're going to have to drop me an example.
Yeah, I'll have to find one. I'm sure I have one somewhere.
And we'll play it right here.
Oh, fuck,
Maybe.
pressure's on. Yeah, no, I found those guys. They're another one that's been around a while. I think they've been around since around, I don't know, 2007, something like that. But I had never heard of them. And they have really good, silky, smooth vocals. The drummer gets after it. The sax, of course, is phenomenal. All of their music is really catchy. So another underrated band that I think everybody should listen to more. Last Edition. The name of the song was Good Luck. So go listen to them, right? I shouldn't have to tell you this shit.
I feel like half of my albums of the year this year are going to be ska.
That's fine.
I mean, I feel bad sometimes because, like, I don't know how I got so into ska and how that just became my life, but apparently it is. I don't know.
Yeah. My albums of the year this year is going to be awful. Adrienne, do you have any contenders?
All right, so I gotta say, if you're gonna put ska in the thing and like your albums, you gotta have Silver Linings by Less Than Jake, their new record that they just dropped the other day.
Yeah.
It's really great. The fact that we just like played a show with them, I'm like, the boys,
Yeah.
So I gotta shout them out, even though they're like hella huge and like we're playing basements. But gotta shout out Less Than Jake.
Well, not if you're playing a live stream with them. I mean, that's got to be fucking awesome still, right? How
and
good
she's
does that
being a
feel?
little modest. They opened up for against me at the Summit on
Yeah,
New Year's, so
I know.
that's a pretty big show here in Denver every year.
That was a really good time, and Sincere Engineer is one of my new favorite bands too. And the thing with the live stream, so we were supposed to do a tour with Lagwagon and Less Than Jake, and there were 3 dates that had the Bouncing Souls on it, and Leftover Crack, and PQ, and Crazy in the Brains. So like, it was going to be a really awesome tour, and it was going to be like a month long, but the end of the world happened. So I was really like very touched and flattered and humbled that they wanted to have us be the opening band on their live stream, because I spent the whole year just being like, damn, that would have been so cool. And like we were so close to like just having a little taste of that life and like getting that exposure and putting ourselves in front of so many people, and like just the fact that they were willing to give us that shot again. And like, there was the only live stream event that they did all year. And so Less Than Jake, if you're listening to this, I really appreciate it. Thank you. It meant the world to us to have that happen. So
Do you feel
thanks,
like,
guys.
was that like a big, so I don't know, do you ever feel like you struggle with depression at all?
Oh, yeah. I actually, whenever I was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder, I also received, so it was a triple diagnosis of autism spectrum, persistent depressive disorder, and social anxiety disorder.
Okay,
so,
wow. Nice package. They're like, here you go.
Yeah.
I am, my master's is in clinical psychology, and I do behavior work with kiddos with ASD. So that's my line of work. I've done that for 15 years. So I'm familiar with all of that. And I mean, I feel like just in general, depression is a really big thing, and anxiety that like a lot of people in the world of punk rock struggle with, especially in bands. It tends to be that music is sort of an outlet for, emotions that are challenging to talk about or cope with. And so was that when all of that happened, do you feel like that was sort of like a big, like trigger or an event or point of like frustration or depression when that happened? Because like I can't imagine. Look, I played a lot of music my whole life. I've done it. I say my whole life, but like for the last 20 years I've played music, and there were times where like that's all I wanted to do and I really pursued it, and there were times where I didn't. But I can't imagine being like, here it is, like you fucking got something that you've been working with. You're gonna go tour with Less Than Jake and Bouncing Souls, and like even if it's just a few shows with Bouncing Souls with Lagwag. I couldn't imagine even any of my bands like, we're gonna play with Lagwag, and I'd be like, this is fucking it. Like I did it, and we made it, and then to have it canceled, like I don't know. I just can't imagine what that would be like. You know,
I gotta tell you, so. You know, whenever we got the Lagwag and Less Than Jake tour, it was so cool because the guy that we had just started working with came to us with this offer, and he was like, hey, I just want you to know, like, this stuff never comes this fast.
Yeah. And,
like, you know, it was really rad, and he also works with, like, a ton of other huge major bands that I've loved my whole life, Cough Cough Sum 41, and it was like, you know, what if we could open for like some of the other artists that this dude works with? Like that would be super cool. And you know, so like whenever we got that show, it was just like the biggest wonderful set of possibilities coming our way, and like we were so excited about it. And like, you know, I remember around the same time, the only thing that I was bummed about was Against Me was about to go on tour with Baroness, and they were going to be in Fort Collins like 2 days after our tour started. So like, you know, and I was like, oh no, I'm going to miss that because I love both of those bands. But, you know, and then like much worse things happened. But just to have, you know, just to be so close and then like not have that, it was heartbreaking. And like, you know, it fucked up my whole plan for like my health and my sanity for the whole year. Because like, the plan was I was going to get a gym membership to like one of those super popular chain gyms that I could just like hop into in every city and like just work out there and take care of myself. But instead, COVID happened, and since, you know, it's not recommended for me to go anywhere or do anything or interact with anyone, I stayed home and got really fat, and I like made a bunch of food, and, you know, I've just accepted that like that's what I'm gonna do this year to like be okay and survive until next year whenever it's time to like go on tour. And you know, I'm starting to take better care of myself now and like really start looking toward the future. But you know, I've accepted the fact that like sometimes we deal with, you know, weight gain and like and, you know, body image issues, and I've had that stuff all my life, and you know, it's just about trying to get a little bit to more of a gentle place with yourself. You know, especially during a pandemic right now. And my guitar is broken. I broke my guitar during the Less Than Jake live stream, so like I don't even have a working guitar right now. PayPal at plasmacanvas@gmail.com. You know?
Yeah, we forgot that page. Make sure we get that one. Oh man, yeah. It's I think 2020 is a year that we're gonna kind of forgive anything that anybody wants to do to make themselves feel a little bit more comfortable or a little bit more sane. You know, there's no, like, you got no reason not to, you know. So I've put on a few pounds myself, and my wife is super into fitness, and she's trying so hard, God bless her, but there's no keeping up with the amount of shit that I'm putting in my face. I would have to be working out constantly.
Me too. My mom the other day sent me.
Exactly. What about your mom? Did she find my underwear under the bed?
Har. What are we in, second grade? Jesus. Come on.
All right. So now that we've talked about Bob's mom's balls, let's get back into the music. We're going to keep it right there.
I don't think that was on the air, AP.
Yeah, it was. You were talking about cake balls.
Huh. Yeah, maybe it was.
Yeah, see, now you just ruined the illusion. You're such a goober. So, as I was saying, we're going to keep things right there in the UK. Really excited about this next song. I guess it's not his band, but Nick Davis from River Jumpers is in a new band. He's, of course, providing the vocals. I guess it's kind of a supergroup. It features members from Bad Ideas, Dearest, Maycomb, a few others. But super excited because I love the River Jumpers. I was a little bit sad when I heard that they were going to call it quits. And now Nick Davis is back in this new band, and it sounds a lot like River Jumpers. So, believe me, that's lovely. I'm so excited. You should be more excited by me just nodding your head. I want you to join in the excitement with me when we play Hope is Hope from Hell's Ditch.
Around my way looks so grey, and it's 5 in the morning. And in the distance I hear the sea. My reflection's giving me an eye from the misty window hole. My bones look flat and I see my breath as it hits the breeze. And it's a price I have to pay. I feel so helpless in an age of austerity. But hope is hope. I feel like all the world is a sinner. 6 in the morning, I see the road ahead of me. I'm smashing the ceiling to the sound of rebellion. Displays of expression are so Machiavellian these days. What a wonderful life I lead, and it's a price we have to pay. Are we so shameless in an age of austerity? But hope is hope. I feel so damn empty. Can we move forward? Holding day to day. We all need hope. 'Cause waiting in line again. Gone 10 in the morning. Been out of work for weeks. This ritual of signing on is degrading, but for a short while at least, it keeps him off the streets. We look down on since the day he arrived. A weathered face and black sunken eyes and a faded mark on his skin that reads, "Stay free, stay free." Are we so shameless in an age of austerity? But hope is hope. I feel so damn empty. Can we move forward? Holding day to day. We all need hope.
That one was Hope is Hope from UK's Hell's Ditch. Brand new single. There's a couple of them. I think you should definitely put all of them in your ears because I think they're fantastic. And I'm super excited to have a quasi River Jumpers band back in my life. Adrienne, do you have any bands like that you like super get into and then they call it quits? Or even worse, a band that you get into after they've called it quits and you never get to see them live?
Yes, and I will tell you. So mine, without a doubt, is gonna have to be Gloss.
Yeah, Gloss was badass, man. Well, and that was a small window to catch Gloss. They weren't
Yeah.
around very long, like maybe a year or two, tops.
Yeah, I mean, like, in the big grand book of punk rock history, I hope that there's a fucking chapter about Gloss and, like, how much, I mean, you know, like, Laura Jane Grace did a lot for, like, trans people and everything, too. And like Against Me was super important, but Gloss was like that DIY band that was very much relatable to a lot of trans women who like wanted something a little bit more aggressive than Against Me, and like
well, that's more aggressive than Against Me.
I mean, I don't get me wrong, I absolutely fucking adore Against Me, right. But like there was just that primitive rage to Gloss that was just like, we don't fucking care if we pass, we just want to be left the hell alone by assholes, and like we're gonna go to your like shitty hardcore show and like show everybody up and just like leave the ground cracked and torn, and like we're gonna go to the next town and we're just gonna like be super trans positive about it. And like I don't know, there's just I found so much power in that band, and just the fact that they did so much so fast, and like they've left such that demo right there.
Good.
The fact that they just did so much in such a short period of time and left such a lasting impact. Yeah. Like there are probably way more gloss patches on people's vests and shit now than there ever were when they were together.
That's cool.
Yeah, they are. They were fucking amazing. I enjoyed them a bunch too.
Where were they from?
I think
Olympia.
Okay.
Yeah, somewhere up there in the Northwest for sure.
Awesome.
Well, what was it that Gloss stood for? It was like girls
living outside society.
Yes. Yes. I love a good, what is that, an acronym? I love a good acronym in a name. Bob, you're going to love them. You got to crank them.
Well, I already like the names too. Line Lips, Spiked Bats. I'm like, all right.
That's a good one. Yeah, that was just fucking brutal.
I'm calling it right now. Plasma Canvas is one day going to cover Outcast Stomp from that EP, because I love that song.
That's awesome. Now's the time to do it. You can release it as a single. That's all the rage right now, is releasing just kind of random singles.
So was there ever a band that became something from Gloss? Meaning like AP just said, what was it, Riverboat Gamblers? Or am I just making up another band?
River Jumpers. Riverboat Gamblers is a band.
No, I know. I thought so. River Jumpers went into Hell's Ditch, or one of the people. So did Gloss turn into something else, or is there nothing else affiliated at the time?
Their vocalist Sadie did, I think, like some solo stuff, and it was like more. It was just like some chill indie rock, which like it was cool. I liked it. Yeah. I just I really resonated with Gloss as a punk kid, and so I honestly haven't really looked into it. I just like, for what Gloss was, I was like, this is the thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree. Okay, so I guess we'll call this a news segment. We'll go ahead and get in. It's kind of pared down. There wasn't a ton of news. Things are still pretty slow, but I thought there was some stories, so we'll do a short news segment. How about that?
DyingSeed.com will read to you. We're still waiting for Fed Mike to approve.
Okay, and I always like to, if we're going to do sad news, I like to put it at the beginning so that we can kind of move on from that.
It's so hard to move on from that.
I know. Well, but it's also better than ending on sad news, right? So what are your options?
I guess you're right.
So sadly, Alec Bailey of Leftover Crack and Choking Victim passed away. I guess it was probably about 5 or 6 weeks ago now. Of course, he played for Leftover Crack since its inception. He had been a member of Choking Victim, No Commercial Value, and Agent 99. So Leftover Crack came out with a statement. Of course, you could go read that on their websites. I'm not going to read the whole thing. But yeah, it hit the community pretty hard. I don't know. I never followed up to see if there was more information with regards to his passing. But at the bottom of the statement that was released by the band, they did want to make everybody know of some resources that are available for like the suicide hotline and the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. So unfortunately, it sounds like, he might have been a victim to either an overdose or something like that. So of course, we're all familiar with that in our scene specifically. It's not uncommon. There's been a few this year that have kind of hit us hard, and the end of the year is no different than the beginning of the year. We're going to keep losing them. So a little bit of sad news, especially for me, one of my favorite bands. I love Leftover Crack and Choking Victim a lot, and I've been very sad to hear of his passing. So hope his family is doing well, and his friends, obviously. And if you need help with any mental health issues like that, definitely check out their website and their post, because there's some good information on there with contact numbers and things like that. So don't be afraid to reach out to people, especially in times like this. We said it earlier. There's no excuse to not do what you want to do for yourself this year. The handcuffs are off this year. If it makes you feel good, I think you should definitely do it, as long as it's healthy. I don't want people going out and doing unhealthy things, but try and better yourself, and do the best you can. And if you can't, there are resources available to you. We certainly don't want to lose anybody else. So that's the bad news. I know it sucks. I know, but it's news. It had to be covered. So now let's move on to something a little bit happier. These are kind of stories that are kind of linked together, in my opinion. So Hot Water Music covered a Stevie Wonder song, the 1976 song Sir Duke, which is pretty cool. I always love it when punk bands cover songs outside their genre. So, obviously I love Me First and the Gimme Gimmes, but when bands that aren't known for doing covers explicitly do songs like that, I get really hyped for it, and especially Stevie Wonder, because I love Motown and Stevie Wonder.
That's what I was going to say. Motown is your thing.
Yeah, well, punk's my thing. It's whenever I need to not punk, listen. Yes. Every once in a while, I need to stop listening to punk for a day or two, and when I do, it's usually Motown. So, yeah, this was a pretty neat little crossover. There was J.R. Wazalewski from Less Than Jake played horns in the song. Yes. So, yeah, a little bit different than what you're accustomed to hearing from them. And then, linked to the story, like I said, Tsunami Bomb released a cover of a Hall & Oates classic. Out of Touch was the name of that song. So got a couple of bands that have recorded covers of songs that aren't necessarily within our genre, and I love that. What is one of your favorite cover songs done by a punk band, Adrienne, that is not a punk song? And you can go to a Me First and Gimme Gimmes. That's fine. I won't consider it cheating if you have to.
I'm going to say, actually, no. I'm going to say any song from the Children of Bodom's Skeletons in the Closet record. They did Hell is for Children by Pat Benatar. They did Ghost Riders in the Sky, but I really dug their cover of Looking Out My Back Door by CCR.
Okay. I can't even imagine that. I'm going to have to check that out. Is it like, are they just screaming like, do, do, do?
I mean, they also did a cover of Oops, I Did It Again by Britney Spears. And it was like, and they did that before that was like, the punk goes pop thing. Yeah. Like they did that like way before it. And it was just, I don't know, it's super funny. They have a really good sense of humor, and so I call them a punk band.
That's funny.
Fair enough. We'll allow it. Bob, Bob, you probably have an opinion. What's one of yours? I know we're not interviewing you, but
I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is like maybe an adaptation where it's like and I hate it because I just reference this band so much, but Operation Ivy, they do the Nancy Sinatra song, "These boots are made for walking," and that's all they do. They just sing that over and over again, but it's Operation Ivy, so I love it.
You know what my favorite rendition of that specific song is ever? "Never Fight a Man with a Perm" by Idols.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So I definitely got into Idols in the last few years just because of like that weird industrial like English like style of punk where it's like really, I don't know, it can be like slow but hypnotizing at times. It's been really fun, and that got me into Shame. I don't know if you've listened to them or not, but they're a really fun band. So I've listened to Idols a lot, but I've never stumbled upon that song. Is that the same a band we're talking about, Idols, the one from UK?
Yes.
Okay.
And so their album with that song on it is called, get this, Joy as an Act of Resistance.
Joy.
That is a cool fucking name.
They are a cool fucking band. I love them because they're like seeking to redefine masculinity and like they're, you know, just all about like healthy masculinity and stuff like that, and like just calling out violence and violence against women and racism and xenophobia and things like that. And like they're really cool. But that song is called "Never Fight a Man with a Perm," and it's making fun of like beefcake dudes that are just like unnecessarily asshole macho types. And there's a part in the song, and the dude Joe Talbot has their front person. He has this really thick, wonderful Cockney accent. I think it's Cockney. Don't beat me up if I get my like English stuff wrong. But like he has this amazingly wonderful working class accent. And so when you hear him say, "These boots are made for stomping," so that's just what they'll do. One of these days, these boots are gonna stomp all over you.
You know
He's
what?
like,
Literally, now that you just said that, I'm like, I actually have fucking listened to that song from them. I know the song now. That's awesome. I saved it to my playlist anyways to listen to it again, but I definitely know that song from them.
the lyrics are so good. The lyrics remind me of like a rap battle, like where he's like, "You are a catalog, plastic Sinatra," and like it's so funny.
I'm gonna listen more attentively this time through. I appreciate it.
There you go. All right, so in some in news, I guess it's new news, but also older news, surprising news at least. Superior Viaduct Records announced that they will release the first ever officially released Screamers recordings. So I don't know if you guys are familiar. The Screamers were an exceptionally influential band in the early LA punk scene. Mm-hmm. They were founded by Tamara Duplanty, Tommy Gear, David Brown, and KK Barrett. The band broke up before releasing any records. I think they were working on a film or something like that was never completed. Tamara Duplanty passed away in 2000, so there was this void where there was no official records. And now it seems Superior Viaduct Records has picked that up, and they are going to rectify that situation. So the first ever official recordings will be released. The name of the album is going to be Demo Hollywood 1977, and it's going to be out January 22nd, 2021. So looking forward to that. I know I never obviously saw them. I was too young, but yeah, I've heard a lot of them from my time in LA.
Yeah. One of my friends in high school, he burnt me a bunch of albums that I needed to listen to. And they weren't punk rock albums. It was like the Stooges, or not like hard punk rock albums, the Pixies. There's probably a Dead Kennedys album in there, so there's some punk. And then the Screamers were one of them, and it was just like a bunch of live stuff compiled together, obviously not an actual album, but stuff he had found off the internet. And so I sort of listened to him and got into him, but I'm like, man, this is so hard because it's all just live shit. And then my next exposure to them was when I read Under the Big Black Sun from John Doenig zine from X. And yeah, I mean, in that book, they sort of talk about like Darby Crash, like was really influenced by their singer and like his stage antics. And I remember it must be Exene, or maybe it was somebody else. This is a really great book, by the way, if you haven't read it. I'm sure I brought it up before, but it's called Under the Big Black Sun. Yeah. And it really just traces back punk through pretty much everybody who is out here. They have different people write different chapters, and so maybe it was Exene or maybe it was one of the gals from the Go-Go's, but they're recounting one of the shows where I believe it's them. They taped up all these black garbage bags on the stage and then started playing, and the singer stabbed through the garbage bags mid-song and just slowly, while singing over the course of like a minute, brought it down to the front and ripped the plastic bags open. He had peanut butter smeared all over himself, which later became like a Darby Crash type of antic.
Yeah, sounds like something he'd do.
Yeah, so yeah, I don't know. I think that's interesting. I don't know if like it's the rest of the band that approved it because their singer passed away a while ago. Right. I think you said that.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know how that works, but it's. I guess I don't know. It is kind of a weird story because you don't hear of people releasing albums. What is that? The 41 years after.
Yeah, and it's like, so is it going to be
years.
Unreleased shit, or are they just going to leave all the live stuff that's been leaked? If that's the case, it's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, just put it out there for free. But I don't know.
Right. Well, so they did have a track list. It's Magazine Love, Punish or Be Damned, Anything, Mater Dolores.
Does it say that they're all live versions?
And
or
Peer Pressure.
Demo versions?
It says Demo Hollywood 1977 is the name of the album. So maybe these are some demos.
All right. Well, that's better than what I have.
Seems
because
like
I think all I have is live shit.
Well, there you go. Now you have something to look forward to. Yeah. January 22nd,
cool.
2021.
Exciting.
Okay, cool. Last story here is kind of a funny one. And I'm going to get Adrienne to weigh in some here because she's a little bit more in the industry than we are. But Victory Records is going through a wholesale process, it looks like. So they sold their whole catalog associated with the record label to Concord Music, and I think that was a little bit earlier in the year. But now, Victory founder Tony Brummel, he's founded a new record label called Mission 2 Entertainment. But now he's going through a wholesale and selling off everything that used to be at the Victory Records headquarters. Bob and I looked through the auction list, and it's everything, like literally like hand sanders and staplers and stuff like that. It's anything from the office supplies up to actual gold records that he had hanging on the wall.
Adrienne looks like she wants that stapler.
So, yeah, well, all bids have ended, so you can't bid on the stapler. But yeah, it sounds like Tony over at what used to be Victory Records is trying to liquidate, and Victory Records headquarters was a direct recipient of that liquidation, it looks like. So I don't know, Adrienne, have you heard anything about Victory Records in your time in the scene? I know you guys worked with Side One Dummy, who obviously that's an impeccable record label, but I've heard some pretty bad things about Victory Records. What have you heard?
That's what I've heard too. And honestly, you and I have probably heard like the same things about Victory Records. I can say 100% that Side One Dummy Records are amazing people, and they do a lot for us, and they've like helped us a lot with like just guidance and like steering the ship a little bit, and helping us kind of grow and do the things we want to do and focus a little bit. But as far as Victory Records goes, all I've heard is like, yeah, that guy ripped us off, like, or like that guy like came after us or something. I don't want to say too much because I don't want the fucking guy from Victory Records breaking down my fucking door. But like,
sure. Yeah, no, I've and all I have to hear is secondhand, because I obviously have no interaction with record label owners but I've heard from a lot of people from within the scene that keep telling me kind of these same things. So when you hear the same stories over and over about the same individual or label, you tend to believe it and maybe put a little bit more weight into it. So I don't know. I guess I wouldn't say like I'm happy to see like he's kind of having to auction off everything, but every once in a while it's nice to see somebody get their comeuppance. You know, if you're kind of a dick and you've screwed people over, it doesn't hurt my feelings if you kind of have to readjust your whole life and try and make a little bit of money so that you can live. So tough shit, buddy. You should have been a cooler guy. Maybe you wouldn't be in that position, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you see, basically, Your Honor, fuck them.
Right, exactly. I guess that's the technical term. Thank you.
She's got a point.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck them. That's pretty much. I could have summed the whole thing up with one statement. That's a lot more expeditious. Okay. Cool. Anyway, I just thought that was an interesting story. It's a story of comeuppance is always nice.
Totally.
That was the label that was suing Streetlight for $1 million for not recording a real record.
Right. Yeah, because they recorded or they did like a best of or something like that, right?
I think they did. I don't know. It was like a covers album or something.
Yeah, and the owner was like, "No, it had to be new music."
Yeah, but that's also, remember, we had the Mean Jeans on here.
Yeah,
and they're like, yeah, Vanessa's like, so Jingles, yeah, when you gonna release a real record? And they're like, what do you mean?
Yeah, that's an awesome album.
Dude, that's the album I listen to the most. I show everybody that album. If Adrienne, if you've not heard Mean Jeans' album Jingles, definitely check it out. It will become the soundtrack to your 2021.
Nah, bro, I told you I'm busy listening to Futures by Jimmy Eat World.
Can't listen to anything new in 2020. Sorry,
No,
it's just Jimmy Eat World.
I'm listening to Futures by Jimmy Eat World and 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge by My Chemical Romance, and that's it.
No room for anything new. Sorry.
None. Absolutely.
Check me
none.
next year.
Well, they feel familiar. So the Jingles is just sales pitches for bands. Like the first song just goes Coors Light, yeah, you do me just right. And then you'll be like, yeah, I've known this song my whole entire life, so it might feel familiar.
Yeah. You find yourself singing jingles that are stupid jingles.
It's so great though. It's ingenious.
Okay, so we just touched briefly on Side 1 Dummy Records. Let's go ahead and listen to one of their bands, one of their bands. Let's kick some Plasma Canvas. So before we started recording, I asked Adrienne which one she wanted me to play, because I always try to extend that opportunity to the bands to play whatever song they want to play. But I already had this one queued up anyway, because me and Adrienne are on the same level. So this one is KILLERMAJESTIC. This is from the new 5-track EP of the same name via Side 1 Dummy Records, and it's from Plasma Canvas. Let's hear it.
Just a witness, much more than your statistic. Right into the new aesthetic. Let's take your birthday canvas. Fuck you!
come to life. I'm squirming, affirming, rebirthing. You shot back, close again. Mouth grinning, skin stretching, free us from the confines of our life.
Name of this song was Killer Majestic, and that was from Plasma Canvas, who is the band of our favorite co-host for this episode, Adrienne. So, Adrienne, tell us a little bit about the song Killer Majestic. I always like to know kind of like the thought process behind the not only like the lyrics behind it, but the actual songwriting, like building the song. So, briefly, I know you don't have to dig too deep into it. I know it's probably a pretty long conversation to get into, but how do you kind of approach that writing process, and with this song specifically?
So, it's kind of a you know, that song in itself is like just so much wrapped up in it, but like basically, so that song Killer Majestic used to be called The Killer, Majestic. And that was the first track on our very first record. And, you know, like, I love that record for what it is. It's like a grungy punk record that's not mixed super amazingly, and it's just kind of rough around the edges. But, you know, it's all weird and disjointed and fun like that. But, you know, I wanted to take that song and maximize the punch and just make it as loud and as angry and visceral and primal and dangerous as possible. And like, you know, since it was written when I was starting Plasma Canvas, like, it was the first song I had written specifically for Plasma Canvas, and it was, you know, both lyrically and musically, I just wanted it to feel like a giant exclamation point. I wanted it to feel like kicking down the fucking door and just like introducing ourselves to the world in a way that's like, you can love this or you can hate this, but it's not gonna be ignored. And so, you know, and also it was the first song that I had written that I knew that was going to be recorded and released after I came out as trans. And well, I mean, I wrote a song called False that I wrote like right after I realized I was trans, but like this was the first song I had written for Plasma Canvas, and it was like, you know, I wanted to start out this record with just a big announcement of like, we're the loudest, gayest punk band in the world, and we're not going to be ignored. Yeah. So that's sort of like the thesis of it, is like, I'm going to do what I want to do, and nobody's going to tell me that I'm wrong for expressing myself, because I'm a loud, queer, fat, autistic woman, and I don't give a fuck.
Damn,
awesome.
Skippy. I love it. And I think you did a good job in making it an exclamation point, because it fucking hits hard. It's a really good fucking song.
Yeah.
So kudos to you. Excellent fucking work.
Thank you.
So you re-recorded that song. It came out this year. Did you record it this year or last year?
So the 5-track EP Killer Majestic was recorded with Bill Stevenson of Descendants and Andrew Berlin and Jason Livermore at the Blasting Room in Fort Collins, Colorado in November 2019 and released on June 12th, 2020.
All right.
That felt really like computer-like and analytical, but like that's just the way I store and classify information in my brain.
And it all says 2020, but that was my assumption. Is like we've had everything going on, so my assumption was because you said like you've been staying home as much as possible and all that, like that. Yeah, you released it after you recorded it. It was recorded last year and took some time to get it finished up. And I know like this year's been really a challenge, I would imagine, to work on new music. But do you have a lot of music sort of ready to go for next year when things pick back up? Or are you just kind of waiting till you two can get back together and write? Or like, what's the idea here?
Well, songwriting has been like pretty much the only thing that I've ever been good at, aside from cooking, which I've gotten better at over the last year. I've become a really good cook, by the way.
Yeah. What's your? I'm gonna sidetrack for 1 or 2 seconds. What is your favorite thing to cook, and what's the best thing you cook?
The best thing I cook is probably my chicken parmigiana.
That sounds delicious.
Yeah, it's really good. And I also I'm from the Midwest, so I make like a really good Midwest chili. That's my jam. That's my favorite thing to make. Is
Are you
like
making
a big
cornbread with that chili, or just
no?
the
And here's my thing with both barbecue. All right, so I got strong feelings about food. Like my thing with barbecue and my thing with chili. Barbecue specifically, you don't need the pickles and the onions and the bread and if you make the meat good enough, you don't have to add any extra shit to it. And so whenever I make my chili, I brown like a bunch of ground beef, and then I'll add my garlic powder and my salt and pepper and cumin and stuff to the beef to let it flavor and everything, and then I'll add my tomatoes to kind of flavor that, and then I'll put it all in a crock pot, and I'll add like all the beans and all the tomato paste and tomato stuff and all my spices and my jalapeno and my serrano peppers because I like it spicy.
Nice,
Don't put my onion in there.
And it gives serranos are a nice different flavor too from jalapenos. People always are just like, jalapenos. Like, dude, serranos add some good flavor. Don't just go basic. So I like that.
But I was totally answering a different question.
Well, I get sidetracked because you've been cooking, and I love food. Like
as soon as you said cooking, it kind of went downhill.
Well, I've been cooking a lot this year too, man. It's so exciting to be able to make something and then sit down and really enjoy the fruits of your labor and be like, I made that. Like I've made beer before. I've grown pot. Like anytime I can get myself drunk or high, I'm like, I did this to myself. Like this is amazing. I'm like, so I can make good food and I can fill myself up, and it's just like, I don't know. I enjoy it, and I enjoy when other people can do to do that as well. And so I always want to hear about what people are doing and enjoy their stuff. So, anyways, sorry to sidetrack you, and sorry
Do
to
you
sidetrack
even remember the original question, dumb shit? And that wasn't you. That wasn't calling Adrienne a dumb shit. It was Bob.
My original question to her was if she has more music to come and what the process has been like. Are you writing, Adrienne, by yourself right now, or are you waiting to get together with? Is it's Jude, correct?
Yeah, and we both use she/her pronouns.
So, are you waiting to get together and write with her? Do you kind of write by yourself? Does she also write some of the songs at all, or is she just strictly on drums?
Well, so basically, I've had this problem my whole life, with working collaboratively with people. I'm really bad at it. I like to, and this is going to make me sound like such an asshole, but it's just the way that I think and the way that I write, and I'm trying to be gentle to myself about it, which is hard to do, but everybody should be more nice to themselves. Yeah. But I think of myself as sort of sometimes like sort of a punk rock composer where I envision a bunch of different parts in my head, and I have a general idea of how I want it to go, but I try not to push. I try to guide Jude in the direction, the vibe, and the energy that I'm feeling for the song, but like for the most part, I let her do her thing, and like, because she's just really great at being intuitive and like keeping it simple and punchy, because that's what I go for, is like I want the crowd to be able to mosh to this.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I've always just approached songwriting like all at once, pretty much. Like I'll just like, I don't know how to describe it other than like I'll just kind of like write something. Like I don't know. It's hard to describe songwriting, but I do most of it.
Okay.
Like, it kind of borders on like fucking divination almost sometimes. It's just like I could just see like music and shit floating around in my brain, and I'll like slow down the tornado of thoughts in my head, like grab one and put it down on paper and stuff.
That's like what a lot of like Greeks and like ancient peoples, like they wouldn't even credit themselves for the songs. They would just credit like the god of music. I don't know what their fucking names are, but I just know that like reading, some history books and this and that, it's like, oh yeah, like a common thing to do is like, you didn't take credit for yourself. Like it's, like you said, divination, like it just sort of comes to you and you're writing it and something else created it. And so, that's not sort of what you're saying so much exactly, but it's like, it's just there and exists and you're trying to make that come to life, like what's already in your head and happened, So I definitely get that.
Yeah.
So
Go for sorry.
it. No, go for it.
I tend to, the other problem I have is I tend to just like write songs continuously, constantly.
Is that a problem? That sounds awesome.
It's not a problem, except for the fact that I have like a cheap interface that I can't get to talk to my laptop, and like I'm not tech savvy at all. Like I get really frustrated trying to learn because like I have, I'm neurodivergent. It's hard for me to learn things, and so like a lot of times I just like I play guitar a lot, and I'm just pissed off because the only way I can really feel to notate anything is like to make a voice recording of it or like take a little video of it, and that's like the most I have for like demos in my room right now. So like it's a problem in the sense that like I write stuff so often that I can't document all of it except for like lyric files in my phone.
That's got to be frustrating.
It's a little frustrating, but it's fine.
It works. It works.
I'm just more bored than anything.
Yeah. That's me 100%, especially when I'm so used to going to so many shows and and even after a show, then I have like pictures to edit and stuff like that. It's like another half day of work after a show. So, and now I don't have anything to do. So yeah, it's the boredom I think is most prevalent for me in these days, but it's all right. Yeah, there's people out there suffering worse than boredom. So what do I have to bitch about? So let's move on with some music. I thought it was funny, Adrienne, you said your first album was just like really kind of low quality and really raw sound. That's actually why I picked our next band. Their sound just kind of took me back to the late 80s when I was starting to get into punk, and everything kind of sounded like this. Everything was just kind of recorded on analog tapes, and everything just sounded scratchy and low quality. I bet Bob's going to actually have to try and clean this up a little bit, or at least raise the levels, because it is such a poor recording, but it's such a fucking awesome song, and the band is great. And I don't even know if they're intentionally recording it poorly, because I love it. And it, like I said, it took me right back 25 years, 30 years ago. So the name of the band is Half Mast, and the name of this hardcore gem is When the Levity Breaks. That's another one without a Facebook page, but I know they are located in Amherst, Massachusetts, which doesn't really look like there's much to do there. But apparently, they have some pretty good hardcore bands, at least one hardcore band. Name of that song was When the Levity Breaks. The name of the band was Half Mast.
And I only turned the volume up. I did not mess with the quality because that is sacrilegious in my book.
Yes, I was pretty much just joking. But yeah, no, you will have to turn up the volume a little bit.
Yes.
So those guys have a few singles out and an EP. But Who Killed the World, which that track was off of, was their first full length, and they made it count with 21 tracks. The whole album probably wasn't more than 30 minutes, but 21 tracks crammed in that time. So they did a good job. And again, just that DIY, gritty, raw sounds like they probably recorded it in their garage. That's the fucking good shit, man. That's what gets every punk into punk, I think, is that kind of sound. So I chatted with those guys on I don't know, Facebook or something, and they said that they have a new EP coming out, which will be out by the time you hear this. So
nice.
A little bit of homework for you guys. Definitely go find that album. I don't know the name of it or anything because it's not out yet, but Half Mast will have new music out by the time you hear this. Go look for it.
EPs are just going to have to be acceptable for me in 2020.
I know. You're getting over the whole EP thing.
I have to because there's no full albums coming out. So,
nope.
Just is what it is. And I have two that are probably going to be on my albums of the year, and that's just going to be what it is because that's what I've been enjoying. And so.
Well, and we used to have the rule, like you can't, it has to be LPs. You can't do EPs, but now that's pretty much all that comes out. So we kind of have to shift our way of thinking on the records or the albums of the year list.
No, absolutely.
So, I'm so sweating that. Oh, it's going to suck. I don't even know what I'm going to do with that list.
I know. I'm like, can my album of the year be The Arrogant Sons of Bitches from 12, 13, 14, 15 years ago, which I just discovered? Oh, my God. You mentioned Jeff Rosenstock earlier, Adrienne. I
love Jeff Rosenstock.
Have you listened to Arrogant Sons of Bitches?
I've listened to a little bit of Arrogant Sons of Bitches.
Okay, I hadn't, and then I discovered it this year, and I was just like, it became my Spotify's top played album, and every song on it is one of my top 5 songs of most played all year long, and I'm like, well, that's cool. This was 15 years old, but... Whatever. I'm like you guys said earlier, you're talking about like bands you'll never be able to get to see, and I'm like, well, at least I could see Jeff Rosenstock, and maybe next year he'll tour No Dream, and that would be awesome because, I mean, in my opinion, his best album so far as the solo work goes. But I'm like, God, it'd be so awesome to be able to see like these songs being played. Yeah. So whatever.
And Jeff Rosenstock is near the top of my top 10 albums of the year list this year, and he came right out the gates. I think that was in January. That one was released, so it was like really early on. That one's been living in my top 10 list for a while. So
no, he put that one out like in the summertime. You're thinking of Post. He put Post out like January 1st, 2018.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. I don't know. It all blends together. I'm getting old.
2019, I don't know.
2018, 2019, 2020. What's the difference,
It's the same.
We don't have perception of time anymore.
I know. It didn't take long for us to adapt. So let's keep things there in Massachusetts. But we're going to move due east from Amherst over to Boston for this next one. Name of this track is Never Die from Garage Pop Punk's Salem Wolves.
Never die.
That is their brand new single, Never Die. It's really awesome 80s sound to it with some echoey vocals. Even Mrs. Anarcho-Punk was digging that one.
Nice.
They released a couple other singles recently, so go listen to them all. Is that the, like, Pokemon? Get them all? What is it? Catch them all?
Gotta
go
hear 'em
listen to
all.
them all. Yeah, you gotta hear them all. Yeah, so 2 bands back to back out of Massachusetts that doing really good things. I like that garage sound of Salem Wolves. It's pretty cool. I like the little bit of a 80s inspiration to it. So really cool. Good job, guys. Hope to hear more from them, not just some singles.
Yeah.
Like Bob says, just make a fucking album.
God, I was
That's what he
listening
says.
to a band earlier this week, and I'm like, I go through, and they put out 5 singles this year. I'm like, come on, you've got an EP. Don't do that to me. Don't give me 5 singles. Give me an EP. And in fact, just make 3 more songs, and you've got a full album, buddy.
He's not even happy with the EP. He's already pissed about the EP, but don't give him 5 singles, you son of a bitch.
Sorry, Adrienne. I know you gave us an EP earlier this year.
Well, that's a funny story about that. So Jude and I have a bunch of stuff, material for the next full-length Plasma Canvas record. But like a couple of those songs have been around for a while,
Yeah.
like before we recorded Killer Majestic, and like, because we wanted to do, like, whenever we started talking to Side One Dummy, we were like planning, okay, what's the next full-length Plasma Canvas record going to sound like, and what are we going to do? And then, we started talking with Side One, and they were like, well, since this is our first thing together, let's like try a little bit smaller thing, and like, that way if it, like if it blows up, cool. If it doesn't work out, it's, it's not that bad, and like, so it was just cool. And, we were able to do like 5 songs and work with Bill Stevenson, and that was a super rad time. But, I mean, it is what it is. Like, we have all those songs now for the next record, and like we've just gotten to perfect them that much more, and we're excited to show them with everyone.
That's nice insider information too, though, because I also didn't know that was a consideration in why someone makes a shorter album or a longer album. It being like,
there's a lot of time it's just what you can get.
Yeah, see here comes Bob criticizing people when they're just doing the best they can.
Yeah, what the fuck, dude?
Such a scumbag, man. Fuck this guy.
piece of shit.
Yeah, well, it's all right, Bob. We still love you.
All right.
So, Bob, I think you're really going to like this next one. I thought of you when I included it. So we listened to some just straight up classic kind of ska a little bit earlier. We're going to put some grit on that. This next one, I don't know if we're going to go all the way and call this ska core, but it's definitely a little bit more hard than regular ska. The band is made up of a couple ex-Link 80 members, Adam Davis, vocals and guitar, and he brought bass player Barry Kripine with him. So from the East Bay, this is Omnigone with Swallow Poison.
Find it hard to focus, the endless flood of problems never stop. The world is burning, children dying, bigots and the cowards and the cops. And now these dreams are half complete, untouched for months until they gather dust. Stacked high up on the workbench, buried under wasted time and broken trust. Make the change today. Clear it all away.
That was the new single Swallow Poison from East Bay hardcore ska. See, I don't want to say ska-core because it's explicit in its description, and I don't think Omnigon's quite there. But Omnigon's the name of the band. They released a 12-track LP entitled No Faith back in simpler times, 2019. On that album, they also had Steve Borth, who used to play with RX Bandits, and Brent Friedman from We Are the Union, as well as Jeremy Hunter from Ska-Tune Network, which Bob and I were talking about offline. So, yeah, they're kind of like a super group, too, almost, with all those names kind of sprinkled in there. And it's always good to see Blast from the Past, Link 80 in any capacity. I'll take them. Bob, you said we recognize the name Link 80. Did we determine that it's from your Asian Man record compilation days?
Yes, it is. And like you said, one of the dudes played in RX Bandits for a while, which is a band that I was into. So that is exactly where it's from.
And we also decided that we can say Asian Man Records because that's the name of the album. The record label. That is the name of the record label, which is what is it? Mike Park. I'm trying to remember.
Park.
Yeah.
Who is he's South Korean descent.
He's been putting out some good music this year too. I think he had a couple releases that might be at least penciled in on my albums of the year, and I can't remember them right offhand, but I remember seeing Asian Man Records because I always put the record label next to the album.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
Cool. All right, look, let's round out the second block of music here with some good old boys from back home. CC Potato. What is the street? So these guys are street punks. What is it with street punks and potatoes? Does anybody know that? Like, because there's a band here called Potato Pirates, and they're street punk. Pretty sure I heard another one that has potato in their name.
It's actually, I mean, they sort of created a subgenre of punk called potato core. So
okay,
it's the Irish Celtic thing.
Okay, well, these guys aren't very Irish or Celtic, but their name is CC Potato. They're from the San Fernando Valley up there in my old hood. Name of the song is Jackson's Blood. That track was Jackson's Blood. Name of the band was CC Potato, street punk out of the valley there in Los Angeles. Their first full length, which, that was a single, Bob's favorite, another single. Their first full length, however, was entitled The Upper Decker, which I think is an incredible name. That was released back in 2016, and then they did have another album in 2018, full length album called The Best of the Worst. Some pretty good street punk up there in the valley. And I don't remember, I think they were relatively new when I was still living there, so I don't know if they were playing shows, but I might have seen them once or twice on a lineup, and I never got to see them. But really good, high quality street punk. Way to go, boys! I like that. That was the one scene there in Southern California that's lacking, is the street punk. We don't have very much down there.
Yeah.
A lot of punk, a lot of pop, and a lot of ska down there.
It'll be nice when shows get back and going to be able to go see them.
Yeah, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I'll go see Yanni. I don't give a shit. I'll start a pit at a Yanni show.
I would like to see that. I would pay good money to see that.
So that rounds
I lost
out
him.
our...
Did you lose him,
what?
Adrian?
I believe. Nope, there he is.
There he is. Welcome back.
Yeah, well, my internet kind of sucks.
Oh.
So that rounds out our last block of music. What do you guys want to talk about now? We usually do a little outro here about what we're going to talk about or what we're going to do over the next few weeks, but I imagine we're all going to be probably laying low, celebrating holidays and such, and being removed from large groups of people because we're all responsible adults.
Indeed.
So I'm not doing anything. And is anybody else doing anything? Adrienne, are you doing anything?
Yeah. So those wildfires that were burning all over the country a couple months ago, I'm gonna have one of those several times a day in my living room, in front of my TV, on a very, very small scale. I'm gonna smoke a lot of weed.
All right,
And,
I like it.
I'm gonna smoke a lot of weed and play a lot of like Spider-Man on PS4 and
Nice.
Batman on PS4, and I'm gonna make a lot of food, and I'm gonna like try to find a working guitar.
Yeah, maybe get the guitar problem
What's wrong with your
situated.
guitar? What's currently the issue?
Machine head broke on it, and it's like, of course, the low E, so I can't be punk rock right now, and I don't like, I don't want to write guitar parts like the Clash, so like, I gotta have that low, thick motherfucker.
Yeah.
Excellent. I like the idea of just smoking copious amounts of marijuana and playing video games and cooking and eating lots of food. That sounds pretty fucking incredible. And I think I'm probably going to be doing a very similar setup around here. Bob, you're going to be editing the podcast.
I will be editing the podcast. Yes, I will. And that's probably about it. Yeah.
Okay, well, then let's go ahead and put a bow on this motherfucker. Adrienne, I really appreciate you joining. I had a bunch of fun. I'm really excited for shows to start playing. When they do, I imagine you're going to come down and play a few in Denver if there's any venues left.
I mean, absolutely.
Okay, when the shows come back, let's hang out. We'll meet up at one of the shows and hang out for a little bit. We'll start a pit. We'll get a rowdy pit going, you and I. And we'll make fun of Bob.
Damn right.
I feel left out.
Yeah, you should.
No, you gotta be there when we make fun of you, or else it's like not as fun.
Oh, is that the rule? I'm fucked, man. I make fun of him all the time when he's not around. Well, thanks for joining us. I really hope to catch you in person again sometime soon. Until then, I want you to be extra safe because the world's a crazy fucking place. But until then, let's go ahead and play out with a little bit more music. I love these guys. They have a really awesome mid-90s pop punk sound, like a Blink-182, something that's just really catchy and radio friendly. Nice little simple quartet out of Regina, Saskatchewan. You don't see very many bands coming out of Saskatchewan.
I don't even know where that is.
Yeah, and it's hard not to say Regina because that's how it's spelled, but I'm almost positive it's Regina. I don't know, maybe. I might catch some negative feedback.
I
on
think
it.
Wait a minute. What's coming out of the vagina?
Saskatchewan is coming out of my vagina.
Oh, God. Oh, no.
I'm gonna have to do a video call with my doctor to check that out. The name of the band here is Hiding from Humans. The name of the song is Whinge. This is from their new 6-song album, a radio EP. Let's spin it, Bob. Until next time, comrades, stay safe.
Adios.